YouTube, what's good? We're back in this thing. Today we're gonna be going over the Polo G Party Life music video. Kind of on my Jeff Bezos, same day delivery type-ish. The music video was posted 65 minutes ago, and yeah, I'm already doing a breakdown on it. The full music video, every single effect, 65 minutes ago. So yeah, name someone doing it like me. Hey, name someone like me doing it. You're not gonna find it. So drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. 65% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So what we're gonna do real quick before we get into the videos, we're gonna make a deal. I got a coin here. If I lands on tails, you guys got to subscribe. If it lands on heads, I'll give you 10% off anything on my website. That is tails. You guys got to subscribe. I'm feeling a little generous. If you type in code TAILS at checkout, you'll get 10% off anything on the website, briandelmata.com. Let's get into the video. All right, so since this is a full breakdown on the music video, I'm just gonna go through and kind of watch little parts of it and give you guys a brief name of each effect. That way you can go through the scrub bar and find the effect you want if you want to just watch for one effect or whatever. So we're gonna be going over this VHS effect here. It's in the beginning. It's really easy. It's just a plugin actually. We're also gonna be going over the security camera effect. Also this ghosting effect where it kind of has these trails. We're also gonna be going over the circle effect. I think it looks really cool, as well as this stretch slide in effect here that they do on DaBaby and Polo G. And then we'll touch on some of like the turbulence, displace backgrounds, and like some of the raised stuff that they did. All right, so now that we're in After Effects, I'm gonna be doing the tutorial pretty much in After Effects because it just involves a lot of rotoscoping and effects that are primarily in After Effects. So I'm just gonna show you kind of what I came up with. These are all my effects here: the stretch in, the turbulence, displace background, the circles, the ghosting. I tried to include it all in one clip just to kind of keep it easy to explain what we're going over, and then I'll show you that VHS and the security camera effect as well. So we're gonna get the simple stuff out of the way first. This VHS effect, really simple to do. It's actually just a plugin in After Effects. It's called Universe VHS, and if you just drag it on, it's gonna give you that look right off the bat, and you can go ahead and tweak some of the settings, play with whatever you think looks good. If I had to guess, they probably left it pretty default here. So if you wanted that VHS look, you can literally just drag on that preset and you'll have a similar look. I always recommend tweaking the settings and making it unique. But if you just want a quick VHS effect for a little bit of your music video, go ahead and use Universe VHS. And then to get this CRT effect or this security camera look, it's really simple. I'm just gonna be using my CRT pack. Basically what it is it's just a preset pack for After Effects and Premiere. I'd recommend getting the both version. You save a little bit of money that way, as well as you can use it in both programs. And then I'm gonna drag on CRT Simple. What that's gonna do is transform the footage into a TV look already. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drag on Tint just to make it black and white. You can make it whatever color you want. Say you want it to be red or any of these colors. Doesn't really matter. You can play around with all the settings. You wanted to give it a little bit of a tint. But yeah, just the map white too, and then I put white. And you don't even have to have it black and white. I just think it fits the security cam footage. So yeah, that's available on the website, briandelmata.com. I'll have it linked below. I have a texture pack that helps you get these paper rip effects and transitions, all this stuff right here. Looks really, really cool. They actually used it in the last Polo G music video, the No Return music video with Kid Leroy and Lil Durk. So that was super cool. I have a thermal pack as well as the CRT pack. So it basically just transforms your footage into a TV look. And then if you want that overlay of that camera, you can just go on YouTube and find some kind of security camera overlay or whatever. I just found a YouTube video. I'll have a link below, and it's a free download. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and drag that security camera footage on. Click S on my keyboard to bring up the scale and just kind of scale it up to where I want it. And then go down to toggle switches and modes here until you see the option for the blending mode. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and turn it to screen. And then you have that CRT camera look. Now we're gonna get into the part where it involves rotoscoping, and we're gonna do the circle effect, the turbulence displace, the ghosting, all that stuff on this one clip. So I just went ahead and split the clip to find a spot where I want the effect to take place. And then you're gonna select on that clip, go up to your roto brush tool, double click on the video, and it's gonna bring it to a layer over here. And then just outline your subject. If you're not familiar with the roto brush tool, just basically go ahead and get a good outline of your subject. And if you mess up at any time and it goes outside the boundaries or whatever, like for example here, hold Alt on your keyboard, it's gonna bring up a red circle, and then you can just erase almost what you messed up. And I recommend getting a really good outline of your subject for the first frame. And you can go frame by frame by clicking the next frame on your preview key, or you could go page up and page down. That also works if you wanna work a little bit more efficiently. I always recommend just doing a really good job masking it out. The better you do for each frame, the better the overall look's gonna be. So keep that in account when you're go ahead and masking out all this stuff. It really separates your effect from other editors that, you know, don't take the time to really get a good mask. You can see it kind of breaks apart here. So I'm just going to hold Alt and go ahead and just go frame by frame here. Also, while editing this, I know Arid directed the video, but I'm not sure who was the editor. I don't know if he was or if he hired someone to edit the project. So if you guys know, let me know in the comments. I'll have their Instagram link below. I'll have the director's Instagram as well as the video link below if you guys are interested in watching it or checking out whoever made the video. And then once you get to the last frame, go ahead and click this freeze button. What that's gonna do is lock in your rotoscope. It's gonna allow you to not be able to move the mask anymore, as well as mask out your subject from the background. So it's gonna be just your subject here. Then once it's done freezing, go ahead and click close on your layer option. And then you're gonna see you have your masked out subject, for us, DaBaby here. And it looks like I missed one frame when I cut it. So I'm just gonna move this over to the left. There we go, cuts right in there. And then I'm also just going to remove their clip of them sliding in, because we're gonna actually add that ourselves. So if you had your own clip, you wouldn't have to do that, obviously. But for us, since we're editing an already edited music video, that's what we're doing to just practice the effect. So if you guys were wondering how to practice effects or whatever, that's how I do it. I just download the footage off YouTube and then kind of just cut out their effects. Here, I'm just going to the roto brush, bringing up the feather a little bit, and then maybe the shift edge in some so we don't have that blue outline. And now we can see what that looks like. It's a pretty clean rotoscope, and for the sake of the tutorial, it's perfect. So then we're gonna go ahead and click on our clip here, go ahead and click Control D. That's gonna duplicate the layer, and then I'm gonna go ahead and remove the roto brush from the background layer. So that leaves us with a top layer of just DaBaby, and then the bottom layer of just the normal. So now for the circle effect, what I'm gonna do to get that effect is I'm just gonna go to the shape tool up here, click down on it and go to the ellipse tool. And then I'm going to hold shift on my keyboard and click and drag, and that's just gonna make a circle. Doesn't really matter how big or what you make it. And then I'm gonna go down to there, content, ellipse, and then go to fill. And I'm gonna turn the opacity down to 0. And then I'm gonna go to stroke, and you can play with the stroke width depending on how thick you want it to be. For me, 10's good, and I'm gonna leave it white. You can have it any color, whatever you just think looks best. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click Control Shift D and just split it for the length of our rotoscoped out clip. And then I'm gonna drag it between the background layer and the layer of DaBaby. So now you can see, we play it, there's a circle behind DaBaby. It's pretty cool, and it's almost what we need here. Now we're just gonna need to drag on a few effects to really sell the effect. The first thing and the most important is turbulence displace. I'm gonna go ahead and drag that onto the background. You can already see now we have a little bit of a messed up circle. And then I'm just gonna bring the displace up a little bit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and keyframe the evolution at the beginning and then go all the way to the end, or the frame right before the end, so we can see. And then I'm also just gonna open up the keyframes down here because I think it's easier to see. And then I'm going to go and keyframe the evolution to something different, so it just changes. And then I'm gonna drag it to the last frame. So you can see, if you're happy with that, that's cool. I might drag it to move a little bit faster. Maybe we'll do a full rotation or something. And I think that looks cool because it splits apart. I like that. And then we can see that's what our effect looks like. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add some glow to it because they had a little bit of glow. You can add VR glow. I'm gonna use Sapphire Glow. It's a plugin. I use it a lot, so I would recommend getting it. And then drag on Sapphire Glow. I'm just gonna leave it at default because it doesn't really matter too much. Play with your settings, make it look whatever you want, have it glow a different color. Really play around with whatever, but for right now, default looks good. Click Control D on that layer of the shape layer. And then I'm just gonna click S on one of the layers and scale it down. And since you're scaling it, it's going to move with the turbulence displace. So you don't have to worry about keyframing the evolution or anything different. You can if you want, but it's not necessary. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click Control D again, scale it, maybe make one really small one. And then maybe click Control D. You can do this as many or as little times as you want. And I'm gonna scale one up, and then maybe one last one scaled up a little bit even more, where it's just on the edge. And now you can see if you play that, you have these circles like connecting and moving around in the background. It looks really cool, and you could leave it like that, but to add a little bit extra sauce to it, I'm gonna go ahead and click on the top layer and then hold shift and click on the bottom layer. That's gonna highlight all of them, and then right click, click pre-compose, and we can name this circles. or something easy that you're gonna remember. And I'm gonna actually close out of that pre-comp right away because we are not gonna be really needing it. We just wanted to group them together. And then I'm just gonna split the pre-comp just because I like to keep the timeline clean. Now it's just all of the circles in one layer. And then I'm gonna click S on my keyboard to bring up the scale. You can also go into transform. I'm just using shortcuts. So if it's not working for you, just go ahead, open transform, go to scale. You can keyframe the scale at like 100 or something. And then I always go to the second to last frame just so you can see how much you're moving it, and you can scale it up. You don't really have to, but I just think it adds a little bit extra of a movement to it. And then whenever I use any of the scale or position tool, I always like adding the motion blur tool. It's just gonna make it look a little bit more realistic and have a little bit of movement to it. So I like the way that looks. You can go crazy with the zooming in or leave it pretty default. All up to you. The next thing I'm gonna be going over is that slide in transition where DaBaby kind of slides in. All you're gonna need is a few frames of a clip before. So example, this clip right here. So DaBaby can pop up and slide in. So what I'm gonna do is you can either plan for this or since we're just doing a tutorial, I'm just gonna go 5 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Highlight the bottom 3 clips or the background and the effect clips, and then drag the footage to the left or to the right underneath it. So now you just have the top layer of DaBaby over the background footage, and then he pops in. That's already a pretty cool transition, but we're gonna sauce it up a little bit. To get that stretch effect, I'm gonna go ahead and type in CC smear. You can also use scale wipe. They're pretty similar of effects. It really just depends on what you're looking for. And then I click the anchor point tool here and just choose somewhere on DaBaby for the from. And then the to is wherever you want to stretch it to. You can have it come from outside the screen, you know, wherever you really want. I'm just gonna have it come from the left here. And then I'm gonna bring the radius up to something like 316 for us here. And then go to the last frame here where it transitions back to the clip and bring it down all the way to 0. And you can see that has that stretch effect. And then to really sell the effect, I'm gonna bring up the transform options here, keyframe the position at the beginning, and also move it to the left a little bit. And then I'm gonna go to the last frame here, right click on the position, click reset. And that's gonna have it slide to the right. So it kind of has that stretch and slide effect. And I'm also going to turn on the motion blur. It's also important to make sure that enables motion blur is here and selected blue. It's gonna allow the motion blur. And if you think that's a little bit too much motion blur or not enough motion blur, you can go up here to composition settings and then go ahead, go to advanced and change the shutter angle. The shutter angle is basically how fast or how much motion blur there is. For example, a pretty default and natural looking one is 180. So that's what I'm gonna change it to. The higher it is, the more motion blur it has, you can see. And the lower it is, say we did like 20 or something, the less motion blur it's gonna have. I'm gonna leave it at 180 because it's the most natural. And then go ahead and render that out. And you can see it has that slide. Now that looks really cool. It's really starting to come together. We're getting those effects that were in the music video. The next effect we're gonna be going over is this ghosting effect here. You can see take place. It's just basically an echo of DaBaby. Has a little bit of glow, a little bit of flicker. And I think it overall looks pretty cool. So to do that, I'm gonna go ahead and click Control D on the layer of the rotoscoped out layer. And then on the bottom layer, I'm gonna go ahead and type in echo and drag that onto the bottom layer here. I'm gonna go and make the number of echoes, basically the number of clones you want. I'm gonna make it 5, I think it looks good, as well as composite in back of, and then go 0.8. And then I always, depending on how many clones you have, I like to keyframe it at the 0 at the beginning, so it doesn't have that weird background glitch. And then go however many frames of number of echoes you have to the right. So for us, we had 5 echoes. So I went 5 frames to the right and then imported 5 here. And now it should keyframe from 0 to whatever. Now you can see we have DaBaby here. I also put the decay at 0.8. That just basically makes it 20% or 20% more transparent each layer. So you can see it kind of fades out here. That looks cool, but it looks a little harsh for me. I like adding some effects like directional blur. And then I'm gonna have it do horizontal just because that's the way he moved in. It doesn't really matter too much. And then just bring it up a little bit so it blurs it. And it kind of meshes the ghosts together. So it's almost like one. And then another thing I like to do is add some flicker on. And you can really add as many effects, distortions, all this stuff, glow to this background layer. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple and just have those two since we're going over all the effects. I'm just giving you basically the resources and learning how to do this, and go ahead and add your own sauce to each of these effects, make it something unique. I think that's really cool and the best way to really stand out as an editor. The next thing I'm going to be going over is this like distortion look here, where the colors are kind of meshed up. I noticed they did like a bunch of different distortions throughout the music video. We're just going to go over one. They're all pretty much the same concept, and I'm going to be using a red giant prism displace for this effect, and I'm going to drag it onto the background layer here, and you can see kind of has this crazy distort right off the bat. You can play around with the glass refraction. That's what's going to really move it around, and it kind of like almost makes it look like it slides into the objects. So you can see like Polo G here, you drag it all the way up and it kind of looks like it slides in. So I'm going to go ahead and keyframe the refraction at the beginning to something like -2.6, and then maybe go 10 frames. So hold shift on your keyboard, and the next frame, that's going to move it 10 frames, and then bring that to 0. And you can see it kind of has that distortion burst effect. And this is where you can really go crazy with all the effects to really, and have your own look of like a distortion burst. I'm gonna use CC lens here to give it a little bit more of like a explosion look. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and keyframe it at the start to something like just right where it kind of turns into a circle. You can even have it like start where it's black in the background. That'll look cool too. Maybe we'll just try it out for the sake of the tutorial. Keyframe the scale, and then you can go 10 frames to the right, so right where the other distortion's ending, and then go back 1 frame and keyframe it to like something that looks like it's almost done, right? So it like looks like the CC lens is done, but like there's obviously this much to go. So like 200 maybe, and then go 1 frame to the right, and then drag it all the way to 500. See how there's like not much movement between the 200 and 500? Basically, that's just allowing it to have more of a movement in the previous 8 frames. So it kind of goes from 88, then go to 9 frames, goes to that 200, and then snaps to the 500. It's just going to give it a little bit smoother of an effect, in my opinion. And with all these effects that you're adding on, you can always go to the graph editor to smooth them out, or you could highlight the keyframes and press F9. It's going to ease them. And then if you wanted to go to the graph editor, you can play with the graphs. I'm not going to go over it in this video. Let me know if you guys want like a more in-depth graph editing tutorial. I think it's really cool, and it's a good way to kind of smooth out your transitions. You can do that for all the movement and everything in this music video. I just thought it looked cool, so I was going to drag on the CC prism to the lines. They didn't do it in the music video, but I thought it looked cool. That's why I always say just try out your own effects, and just drag on effects and try to make your own unique thing. Because I took inspiration from the music video with these lines, and then I added the prism displace. I could even go through and just turn off the keyframe because I copied it, so it always has this throughout. That looks pretty cool. And then you could even play with blending modes, all this stuff. It's all stuff that I think you guys should take time and just play around with. You can change the blending modes, all these different things to make it look unique. But yeah, for the tutorial, I think that's pretty much it. Let me know if I missed any effects that you guys really want to see in the music video. I think I went over pretty much everything. There's different looks throughout, but they're all using the same concepts of just different distorts, blurs, glows, all that stuff, just on the background layer or on the subject. So we're not going to be going over every single variant, but I basically gave you the resources and the tools to learn how to do these effects. So if you made it all the way to the end, I really do appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support me as a creator and also get the CRT pack or the texture pack, if you want paper effects, go over to my website, briandelmata.com. You can use code TAILS at checkout for that 10% off. Basically just levels up your video editing process. It saves you a lot of time and supports me as a creator so I can keep on making these videos and pump out the content at Jeff Bezos speed. But yeah, boys, if you made it all the way to the end, I really do appreciate you. Thank you very much. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys in this one. Peace.